I'd like to first of all just respond. There was a question about the most secular countries, and I said I'd get back to it then. Sweden, by far the most, highest on both secular rational values and self-expression values. The rest are the other Scandinavian countries: Norway, Denmark, Finland, Netherlands, Switzerland, Iceland, and slightly going down towards Benelux. On the high secular values but low self-expression values and sort of high survival values, it's places like Taiwan, Hong Kong, and some of the sort of Russian Orthodox states. In terms of low survival values and traditional religious values, at the other end of the scale, it's largely Islamic countries. So that's kind of very, very roughly what the breakdown is based on the World Values Survey's analysis. I'll just respond again to just some of the points made briefly, rather than remake the points I made earlier. In terms of testing the hypothesis, well, certainly the Christian hypothesis has been tested and has resulted in a combination of some good things, plus the Crusades, the Dark Ages, the Inquisition, the rape of children, the cover-up of the rape of children, and many other things. So whatever the analysis of testing secular values over a period of centuries, Christian values have been tested over a period of centuries, and the record is certainly not all going in the direction of good. In terms of learned almost everything, I'd never suggest that we've learned almost everything. I think it's highly likely that we've learned almost nothing, and that there's so much more to learn. But I think that the scientific method is a far more useful method of learning more than simply hypothesizing from a religious perspective. In terms of good and evil and the good God and the evil God, there's a kind of thing that religious people do is they say, I'm not suggesting that you're saying this here, John, just as a general principle, well, God is all good, and try to explain away the evil by saying, well, it's a mystery and God has to. Well, as you were kind of saying in terms of that other anecdote you're talking about in terms of, you need to give, God wants to give us free will, and in order to have the freedom to do good, we have to have the possibility to do bad. I think that's probably the fair summary of that argument. But the point, the interesting thing about that type of argument is you can make the exact same argument from the other way around. You can argue that there is a supremely evil God, and his purpose is he wants everybody to be as evil as possible and to cause as much suffering as possible. And that's equally explainable by the evidence of reality. And if you say, well, then why is there so much good in the world? Well, he has to give us free will because he wants us to do evil by free will rather than force us to do evil. And so we have to have the possibility to do good in order for us to be able to do evil based on free will. And why would he do that? Well, it's a mystery. How can we know the mind of God? So these things are, you can make the exact same argument either way, and the only reason that people go for the good version rather than the evil version is because it suits them better. And they would prefer the idea of there being a good God than an evil God. The other two possibilities are the one hypothesised by the late great George Carlin, which is what if there's a God and he doesn't give a shit, which seems to be, if you do believe in a God, seems to be a more likely hypothesis, and the fourth is that there isn't a God. In terms of scientists being Christian, a lot of Christians were scientists. There's no problem with that. A lot of Muslims were scientists, and in fact there was a period during and as a result of the Dark Ages where it was Islamic scientists that were carrying the torch of reason rather than scientists in Christian countries. But the point about science is that it doesn't matter who does it. The point about science is that it's measured by evaluating the hypothesis against the results of experiments. And as Richard Feynman put it, it doesn't matter how beautiful your theory is, or it doesn't matter how famous you are, or it doesn't matter how many letters you have after your name. For the purposes of this discussion, I'll add in, although he didn't say that it doesn't matter what religion you are, the bottom line is if your theory doesn't match with the evidence, it's wrong. And that's the key difference between science and religion, is that it does have a testability to it that religious theories don't have, and that science advances by people trying to prove their theories wrong, whereas religion advances by insisting that theories are correct. And I'll close by just reminding you of the motion before us today, which is that society needs religious faith, and I think on the basis of whatever about individual people benefiting from religious faith, I think the idea that society needs religious faith is effectively countered by the social science information that I gave earlier on. Thank you very much.